So this problem asks us to consider the following polynomial function. F of x is equal to negative x minus 5x to the power of 4 plus 2x cubed plus 7. They first want us to write the function in standard form. So in standard form, we'll write f of x is equal to, we want to put the terms in descending order of their degrees, of their, not their degrees, but of the power of the variable. So the highest power is the term with x to the power of 4. So we'll put that one first, negative 5x to the power of 4. The term with the next lower power of x would be the 2 plus 2x cubed. We don't have a squared term, so we'll skip the squared term. And then x, if there's not a power written, we can assume it's an invisible 1. So the minus x would come next. And then the last term, which doesn't have an x in it, or 0 x's, would be plus 7. So that gets us into descending order of the powers. Okay, so what is the degree of the function? The degree of the function is the largest power of x. So in this case, the degree of the function is 4. And what type of polynomial is it? If it has a power of 4, that makes it, so power of 2, or a degree of 2 is quadratic, a degree of 3 is cubic, a degree of 4 is called quartic. Quartic. So this is a quartic polynomial. The next question is, what is the coefficient of the cubic term? Well, the cubic term is the one with the power of 3. So the power of 3, the coefficient is the number that's in front of it. That is a positive 2. The coefficient of the cubic term is power of 2. The coefficient of the cubic term is 2. And then the last question asks, what describes the function's end behavior? So I like to use a little chart when I'm determining end behavior. I like to use a chart that uses the degree, whether the degree is an even or an odd. And then also on this side we can put the leading coefficient. If the leading coefficient is positive, we can put leading coefficient is positive, or we can, if we have a negative leading coefficient. So let me do a little chart here. So if the degree is even and the leading coefficient is positive, that means the function is going to end going up on both sides. If the degree is even and the leading coefficient is negative, it's going to end going down on both sides. If it's odd, it ends going up, if its degree is odd and the leading coefficient is positive, it goes up to the right and down to the left. And if the degree is odd and the leading coefficient is negative, it goes up to the left and down to the right. So another way to say this, because when you're going to the left, that's when x is approaching negative infinity. So what this means is as x approaches negative infinity, because the arrow is pointing up, y is going to be approaching positive infinity. So the left-hand side is always as x approaches negative infinity. The right side is always as x approaches positive infinity. If it goes up, then it's y is approaching positive infinity. And if it's down, then it's y approaching negative infinity. So for this one, let's figure out which square we're going to fall into. Well, we have a quartic, or a degree of 4. 4 is an even number, so we're going to be under even, not odd. And the leading coefficient is negative 5, so that's a negative leading coefficient. That puts us into this box right here. So we know that our end behavior is going to go down, down. To write that more explicitly, we want to say as x approaches negative infinity. We have it going down to the left, so y approaches negative infinity. And another way to write this, when we say as x approaches positive infinity, we can write this as x approaches positive infinity. Y would approach, it's still going down to the right, so y would approach negative infinity. So I first wrote the first one as like words, and the second one I wrote more as symbols, but they mean the same thing, just to give you a couple of options of what to look for. Okay. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or also if you have a problem that you would like to see a similar video on, feel free to leave that in the comments as well, or I have down in the description, my email is listed if it's easier to send something over email. Thanks for watching.